Yeah. Hi, Rakesh. Thanks for joining for this discussion today. So this is your interview for the DevOps and cloud engineer role. Um, I will just, share your resume on screen. You just help me go through your resume. Uh,
Yeah.
how many years of experience you have,
Mm.
specifically in DevOps and cloud space, and we
Mhm.
will then start the discussion after that.
Sure. Sure.
Let me share your resume.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. So I'm Rakesh, working as a senior software engineer with 2.2 years of experience. So I started my career in AWS Cloud. So my first project was to develop a customer support chatbot. So I developed this chatbot entirely using Amazon native services. For Let's, so for chatbot, I used Let's. It's a Amazon chatbot service. For Lambda, I used code computation. Basically, I used Python for it. Python as a primary language, and SNS to send SMS OTP validation I did. After that, API gateway integration with Jira. So we are automatically creating tickets with Jira and getting the ticket details from there and giving it in my chatbot to make it more user friendly for the customers.
Okay.
And for database, I used the DynamoDB. After completing this project, I got some recognition on my team. So after that, I was asked to move to the DevOps team. So before that, there were also some prerequisites to be completed for joining the DevOps team. So they asked me to complete associate certification, AWS associate certification. So I did developer associate certification. Once after that, I went through the basic concepts of DevOps, like why DevOps is basically used, what is the reason of using DevOps, and also some networking concepts like IPv4, subnet mask, and some Linux concepts. So while I'm joining as a DevOps engineer, I literally worked as 1.5 months or 2 months as a junior DevOps engineer. But unfortunately, at the time, the client called off their project due to their financial crisis. So everyone on my team got another opportunity, but I was not given that much opportunity to select the next project.
Okay.
I chose support engineer role. This is not relevant to the DevOps, but
Okay.
I don't have that much option. So I'm working as a support engineer using ServiceNow to resolve the tickets. Genesis is the technology where I'm working as a support engineer. But when I'm doing the support engineer job, I'm not getting that excitement. So whenever I complete a task, it's a kind of repetitive task I'm daily doing. So I thought to switch back to DevOps. So I'm learning on my own. I'm using the I'm using the data available in the internet and open source to
Okay.
do my DevOps project.
All right.
Yeah, that's all about myself.
All right. Good.
Yeah.
Even though you don't have much DevOps experience, but your first project you worked on cloud and
Yeah.
cloud services exposure you have,
Yes.
and then you
Uh,
have a couple of certifications on your name. So
yes.
that
Yes.
that's a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll just stop presenting this. Uh,
Okay.
I want to know few more details, like what is you said you started gathering information. What's your understanding of DevOps? What it is, uh,
Yeah. Why DevOps is being used?
why we
So
use it?
DevOps,
Yeah.
yes, DevOps is not a technology. So DevOps is a methodology. So it started getting really between around 2015, I said. So at the time, so there is a huge gap between the developers and the ops team. So whenever the client gives the requirements, developer do the requirement coding and push it into the centralized repository. This code need to be converted as an artifact. The artifact need to be deployed by the ops team. But here we are having so much of difficulties. Whenever the code is not deployed correctly, the ops team might say there is a problem, there is a fault from the development team. So there is a huge gap between these two fields, so development team and the operation team. So to bridge this gap, DevOps being introduced. So here we are not doing this process manually. So we are integrating every service as an automation process through CI/CD. It's just like a pipeline. So it's like a water pipeline. So when the developer click commit button, everything is automated until it's deployed. So that's what the usage of DevOps.
And like, do you know why they would have started this? Just to bridge the gap, you are saying.
Yes.
Okay.
So yes. So the client might give their requirements quick. So the
Okay.
software development life cycle. There's a waterfall model, and also we are using Agile now. So most of the projects is based on Agile. So we
That
are
is the
using
point. That
yeah
was is something I was looking for to
yeah
support the agile projects. Because
yes
earlier
absolutely
it used to be a lot of waterfall kind of projects.
yeah
So you would have a lot of time to design and build the solution, and the
hmm
delivery would be probably six
yeah
months, sometimes
yeah
1 year also. But now
yes
we working in agile mode, we have to deploy the application every 2 weeks, 1 week,
mm,
depending upon the maturity of the customer. So that's where DevOps really comes handy.
yes
DevOps basically help you implement agile in a
yes
better way. Yeah.
yes
I wanted to check on your scripting. You have mentioned quite a bit of shell
yeah.
scripting, and can you give me like what is the difference between these scripts?
Oh, okay. So I started shell scripting after completing the Let's Work project. The when there is a prerequisite sites to join as a DevOps engineer, I started scripting. I get the knowledge of fundamentals of Linux. So in the scripting, I did a small project like I have distribution like Ubuntu and also CentOS. So the packages are different. So to automate the services, I need to install services basically on this distributions. So I created one bash script. It will find what packages they are using. So what packages basically it is, and it will install the service as per the distribution, Linux distribution.
Can you give me one example? Can you help me with one? You get some error that there is not enough disk space on your server. How
Okay.
would you troubleshoot that issue? How would you know how much is the storage on that server that you are monitoring?
So okay. I would give so the command you're asking, right? So I would give L. So, 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 uh,
Okay, forget the command. What would you check?
okay. So basically, we are having a command to get the CPU details and also memory details,
But it's
everything.
not CPU, it's a storage.
Oh, storage. Basically, disk storage, right?
Yes.
So it is full. We are asking
Yeah.
it's full.
Yes.
How could I resolve that?
Right.
Uh, I
But how
think
would you know which volume or which drive is full? First, you need to start the investigation.
yeah. Uh, I'm I'm not getting anything on my mind.
But you will be able to Google that. Give me the command to find the storage, and then you can run that command, right?
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, that's what I've been doing. So
Yeah.
probably I need to get good grip of commands.
All right. Do you know from your certifications and your experience what is CIDR range in cloud?
Yes, cider range.
CIDR. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Cider range go hand to hand with subnet mask. So whenever we are, I'm taking example as IPv4. So the devices for naming the devices inside the network, we are using IPv4. So for dividing the network into the subnet, we are using subnet mask. So for the subnet mask, I need to know the range. The first IP is a network IP. There is a range between that, and also the last IP is known as a broadcast IP. For this, I need to really understand the subnet mask. So the subnet mask. So for example, I'm taking class C private IP 192.168.0.1. Okay, 0.0.1, something like that. The first usable IP would be the network IP. The last usable IP would be the broadcast IP, as I mentioned. Between this, I might have 254 usable IP. Right. So this can be used as a one subnet. So if I'm taking another example like 192.168.0.0, so the first part will be the network part, second part will be the host part. The host part can be converted into the subnets. So in this example, I might have 256 subnet, but for one subnet, I would have 256 usable IP. So this can be mentioned as a CIDR notation. For example, this 32-bit, right, IPv4 for the 255.255.255. So when I convert this into the binary, I might get 1624, right? So 24 can be mentioned after the internet
So if
IPv4.
in AWS, for example, or any other cloud, if two such networks have to talk to each other, do you know what process we follow?
Two VPC need to communicate with.
Yeah.
So I would use VPC peering
Okay.
for communicating between the two VPC. The VPC is basically a virtual private cloud, so I need to decide the ingress traffic and egress traffic. So that's what. So
Any basic requirement for network peering to happen, or any best practice around it?
Best practice. Okay. For example, I'm saying like in the VPC A, I'm running one web service. For example, I'm taking up Apache Tomcat.
Right.
So I'm having my MySQL database on my VPC too. Okay. So for the request which is coming from the VPCA, it should be related to the this application, Apache Tomcat application, need to be allowed as an inbound traffic for the VPCB. So only allowing the traffic, the mentioned traffic in the VPCB will be the incoming traffic. So that would be the best practice.
Okay, cool. That is good. So you will have routes from one subnet or one VPC to the other one.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Anything in context of CIDR range?
CIDR range. So that's
What if both the VPC have a CIDR range of 192.168.0.0 /24? Then how the traffic would know which VPC to go to?
Oh, okay. For this, I would say, so we are having.
So basically, the good practice is that you should not have overlapping CIDR ranges. So
Okay.
you cannot pair them if you have exactly same or overlapping IP addresses, because then your traffic would not know which VPC it has to target.
Okay.
No worries.
Should not be overlapped. Okay.
Yeah, it shouldn't be overlapping. That's a very basic thing. That's that. Okay. Can you tell me a bit about DNS records? You have mentioned Route 53 and other services in your resume.
Yes.
So what was your role in that?
Yeah, sure. So DNS, I have used DNS on one of my project. So DNS is basically domain naming system. So it's like a telephone directory. When I give the URL, so when it basically convert it into the IP, so corresponding IP. So I got DNS from GoDaddy, so I used it in my Route 53. So whenever the user ping this domain name, so it automatically gets the IP from the Route 53, and it will use to forward this request to the Tomcat server. So it's basically my web application service.
That's a load balancer, right? What is load balancer then?
The load balancer I have used in Nginx for load balancer.
But what is the difference between load balancer forwarding a request and DNS forwarding a request to an IP?
Okay, load balancer will usually split the traffic with my instances.
Okay.
So in the domain naming system, DNS, So so I'm not sure. So it basically forward the traffic, right? So Route 53 usage of Route 53.
Right. So they look very similar, right? They both of them
Yes.
seems like
Yeah.
routing the traffic, but
Yes.
there must be a difference, right? So no worries. That's fine. I wanted to know what sort of experience you have in the DevOps space, like Jenkins or Bamboo, Bitbucket. Uh,
Yeah.
so if you
Yes.
can explain a little bit in that area.
Sure. Sure. So Jenkins, I have used Jenkins for the complete CI/CD automation. So this pipeline. So I have used Git as a Git repository, and from there, whenever I used webhooks, so whenever the code commits happen, it will trigger the build. So I'm using Java application, so I'm using Maven as my build tool. So I'm creating artifacts from there, and the artifacts go into the unit testing. And after the unit testing, I'm also using the Sonar Cube for checking the vulnerabilities. Once after that, after if
Can you tell
I'm
me a bit about this Sonar Cube interface? What do you see in the Sonar Cube?
Yeah, Sonar Cube is a kind of graphical interface where I can see my bugs and also the vulnerabilities the code has, and I can also set the gateway. So if the code having this much of bugs, it should not uh, cross the pipeline, so it should fail
What?
at that pace.
Okay.
So I'm also used custom gateway for this. If everything is good, the artifact will be converted. I need to store the artifact with versioning. So after storing it on my ECR, the artifacts will be deployed in the ECS. So through ECS, I would get the application.
Okay. Are you using private repository, a private ECR, your own managed?
Yes, yes, my AWS account, private ECR.
Is ECR a regional service or is it a
Uh,
region specific or global service?
uh, it's a regional service because I'm a bit confused. I'm not sure whether it's a regional or global
Okay, no,
service.
no, that's fine. Um, you have mentioned a bit of Ansible and Terraform. So was it in the same project you were using both these tools?
No, it's a different project.
Okay. Uh,
Yeah.
so have you written Ansible and Terraform code yourself?
Yes. Yes.
Is it
So
possible
Ansible. Yeah.
if you can write some Ansible script and just explain on the notepad now?
Sure.
It could be a hello world. That's fine.
Okay. So I'm sharing my screen. So let me open a notepad. I'm sharing it in. Okay, I'm sharing the screen. So Ansible. So I'm writing a very basic Ansible playbook. So here I'm giving the name. So name can be something like hello world. I'm starting my script here. So post any. So here I usually mention inventory file. So the inventory file basically have the details of my target. Now I'm starting the task.
Can there be more than one targets in the inventory file?
Yes, yes, absolutely. So I can have yeah, yeah, huge range of targets. That's what basically Ansible is being used. So we can target as many number of servers, and we can just with a single playbook we can do the whatever we want on the servers.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. I
So
think this is good. This is good.
okay.
The way you are explaining looks like you have very good understanding of
Yeah.
Ansible.
Thank you.
And specifically, you didn't start writing just by yourself, like you are explaining as well in parallel, which
Yeah.
is nice. Uh, You also worked on Beanstalk.
Yes, I did.
Can you
So
explain what was the use case?
sure,
And
sure, yeah. So in my AWS CI/CD project, I used Beanstalk. So before that, I was using my background as a background to host the
any
website.
reason why you selected Beanstalk, or was it your decision, or your company, some architect finalized it for you?
No, so it's the so I explored in the internet. So this is basically so for the website web application. So we are using Beanstalk. So it's very easy. So yeah, it's completely automated. The EC2 servers, or the load balancer or the ASG group, everything is created for you.
Okay.
You just need to allow the security groups with your other services. Then it will start working. That's the reason.
So, okay. That was it. You wanted it to be very simplified for
Yeah,
developers.
for
They just
understand.
work on the source code, and load balancer, server creation, auto scaling is automatically managed.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Awesome. Yep. What are roles in AWS?
Okay, so basically IAM roles can be used to queue for the user and for the groups and also for the services. So if, for example, if my Lambda need to speak with S3, I need to give the S3 role for the Lambda service. It goes with groups as well as users. So whoever have the roles, they will be able to access the services.
Okay. So it's basically allowing AWS services access to other services.
Yes. Yes.
How long was this chatbot, this Lexbot project that you were working on?
I was working about 4 to 5 months on that project. So I was the only person working on that. So I used to connect with my managers on weekly basis.
Mhm.
So they will give the next task to be completed. So that's how the Let's Work build.
Okay. Which other areas you connected this chatbot to? Like there is a Lambda function in this
Yeah.
using
Yeah.
Python, but what other systems was it talking to? To some database as
Yes.
well?
Yes. It the flow starts with it's a I basically mentioned like customer support chatbot.
Mhm.
The usually the customer will raise ticket on their website, the
Okay.
client's website. So they want a separate chatbot to make this process more simplified. So they want us to make a chatbot where they will just give their problem. It need to be created as a ticket, and the ticket number need to be displayed for the user. The
Mhm.
user can use the ticket number and query it. So this function gets simplified. So for that, the first of all, user need to have the user need to have the account over here. So I need to validate that. For that, I given those details in my database DynamoDB. So whenever the user enters their phone number, it checks that DynamoDB. If there is a number, it will send the OTP to them and it will validate their
Okay.
connection.
Why DynamoDB? Is it you because you were working on it, right? So only you
Yeah.
selected it, or someone helped you?
Uh, yeah, I selected it. Uh,
Any reason why you selected DynamoDB for this and not RDS or some other cluster? Or
yes. Okay. I feel like DynamoDB is way more powerful. So it's serverless, and they are having the huge set of data. Uh, so for that, DynamoDB is using key value pass. It's having low latency. So probably I thought this would be the good thing to choose. So they
how
just
do you
want me to.
upload data to DynamoDB? Like, say, how do you how were you populating the DynamoDB?
So I was not given that huge data. So I have given my own data for the
Mhm.
testing. So they just want to have the prototype. After that, they said they will give the main project. So I was basically building my prototype.
Okay, so it wasn't a real project then.
Yes. So usually we have discussion with clients. So they will say their development. So then its thing need to be developed. So once after the completion of the prototype, so they said they will give the project and the allocation of the project details, everything.
But in right, in SQL Server or in
Yeah.
any RDS, I can write some insert queries. I don't know
Yeah.
how to do that in DynamoDB.
Oh,
How do you
oh,
push data to DynamoDB?
okay. I didn't use this
So
this
will
kind.
you not
Yeah,
face any issue pushing that data? Because if you have hundreds and hundreds of records,
yeah,
how would you push that data to DynamoDB? You would have probably used the console and would have
yeah.
entered that
That's
data.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have basically given my data, so it's around 20 to 30 set of
Yeah.
rows. So that's what. Yeah.
No worries. Let you explore that option, how you can push data to DynamoDB.
Sure, sure. Yeah, will do.
Let's talk about a bit of Kubernetes now. You have quite a bit of experience with Kubernetes as well. So what
Yes.
was the use case? Because it's not fitting into this project.
Yeah.
Um,
So I yeah. So I just want to explore Kubernetes on my own. So basically, I learned Docker. So
mhm,
what is the usage of Docker?
mhm,
So so to maintain the Dockers, for example, if one Docker goes down, so there is need to be high availability in Docker as well. So that's
mhm,
what we are using management service like orchestration service like Kubernetes, and also there is other services like EKS and other services. But Kubernetes is being famous. So I learned some of the basic concepts of Kubernetes. I
mhm.
understood the architecture and how it is being used, and also I used some basic things on Kubernetes like Minikube. I installed Minikube, so it's just one node Kubernetes. Right? So I did that.
It's not used for in any project as such. It's more for
Uh,
self-learning.
yes,
Okay.
not implemented in the project yet.
But you still talk a lot of architectural terms there. So it's good you have learned uh, quite a bit of it, it seems. Have you used how do you deploy to a cluster?
Uh, okay, deploy. So I need to deploy.
So you have built your container images now, they are in ECR. How do you push them to cluster, and have you used any automation there or kubectl, or how do you push that?
Yes. So I did remember. So I basically follow the instruction from the open sources from the website. So, but I do remember a command like so. I created one command on S3. So whenever I ping that command, it automatically creates uh, the Kubernetes. So from there, I think I have done I have done the container running over there. So in the under the pods,
Okay,
it's a kind of wake. So
it is, yeah. So you didn't do any CI/CD on Kubernetes. It's through some commands you believe it was deployed.
yeah, yeah, not not in that.
But what is your understanding of microservices framework? Why do we use Kubernetes? Elastic Beanstalk, that was doing the job, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So why do we need to complicate life and use this?
yeah. So we are using container service. So basically, the containers are being used because uh, so to isolate and also give the high availability with a low cost, because capital expenditure, operational expenditure, we are using containers. For the containers, to maintain the containers, so we absolutely need Kubernetes. The Kubernetes can handle not only the Docker containers for every container. So that's what we are having pods. Under the pods, we can use the containers. So that's the real usage of Kubernetes.
But what
And
problem does this solve? So it's just the management of containers.
yes, so it manages containers and also it provides high availability. And
What is high availability? How does it provide HA?
yeah, okay. So whenever, so for example, I'm running one service on only one server. Okay, so if the server went down, the service will not be working. So in
Right.
that case, I need to be having two or more services, two server to host the services.
Mhm.
So that's called high availability. So even if one server went down, I will be having two other
But
server to host the service.
again, that can be solved by Elastic Beanstalk using autoscaling group in two different regions or two different AZs. Then that can be solved, right?
Yeah, but Elastic Beanstalk will not be able to handle the containers.
Okay.
That's what that's what
So
we are
it's more of a
saying.
container management. That's why it's.
Yeah.
But what other benefits does microservices offer?
Uh, Microservices, it gives the, so as I mentioned, the capital expenditure or operational expenditure is comparatively low
Why?
in the
You
in
are
the
bringing in
microservices.
Kubernetes to manage the environment. Then maybe to monitor the Kubernetes, you would need additional monitoring tools. So you are adding operational cost and operational effort to it,
Yeah. So
isn't it?
I'm just comparing the VMs with the Kubernetes, so that's what I'm going around this point. Uh, so you're asking about
What are the two benefits of microservices?
oh, okay. So I would say the services are in the very small. It's very small services.
Okay.
So after combining the one process, every process combined, we get the last result or last service. So that's a major benefit. So even if one microservice get affected, we can use other services to get the application. So that
Right.
would be the
So basically, two benefits would be probably, which I would articulate, would be that you can scale these services individually. If you
yeah.
believe that one of your dashboard is going to be viewed more than any other service, and
Okay.
dashboard takes a lot of resources, and you
Yeah.
want to scale specifically a service which presents the dashboards, then you can scale that automatically. Second benefit would be that if you just have to change the dashboard screen and nothing else has to be changed, you can deploy just the dashboard related microservice.
Mm.
So it
Okay.
gives sort of isolation and
Yeah.
then the scalability that's required
Okay.
per service.
Okay.
Cool. I think that's pretty much, Rakesh, I wanted to
Yeah.
check. Um,
Yeah.
you did a very good job, actually.
Oh,
Uh, yeah, I could
so
feel that in some of the questions, some of the time you go beyond 1 or 2 year DevOps engineer.
yeah.
Your language comes out
Yeah.
that of a senior, and although the project chatbot kind of project are very small in nature,
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, I have myself built or I have seen people building chatbot in a hackathon, which is a weekend activity,
Yeah.
and they will integrate with, say, WhatsApp or Twitter,
Yeah.
and all that will send notification to external systems. So it can be very basic structure can be done in a very short amount of time. But obviously,
Yeah.
if customers have to use it, then you would have a
Yeah.
bit of testing, make it
Yes.
robust so it integrates with their system. So I
Yeah.
could see that you have good experience on a lot of cloud services and DevOps.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any question that you have, Rakesh, before we close?
So I would ask. So I'm just started exploring DevOps. So what can be the areas I need to concentrate?
Okay, we'll discuss it offline. We'll close the interview
Sure.
and
Yeah.
then we'll discuss it.
Definitely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.